a second, more attention span friendly introduction to my story generation system. My system for creative randomization is necessary. It is a system which helps writers and creative people to come up with stories and scenes and characters for whatever medium, whatever thing you'd like to create things for. It's very helpful for me, and it will be very helpful for you if you are inclined to use it. It involves the use of dice and Caroline Myss's archetype cards. These are cards which have different characterizations, different archetypes, and how they appear in characters. We have monks, nuns, we have the Midas or the miser, the poet, we have the teacher, we have the fool, we have the addict, we have the hedonist, we have the vampire. Those are just a few of the many examples of not just like occupations and character types, but of like just sort of energies which appear in people as they pursue various psychological phases in life, I guess is how I would be inclined to boil it down. It's a very dense subject. We have our situation dice. It's a regular 6-sided die, 1 for person, 2 for place, 3 for thing, 4 for theme, 5 for irreversible and diametric change, sort of a seismic change in the story, and 6 represents antagonism, man versus man versus himself, man versus nature, man versus society. We have our emotional spectrum die. This relates to the emotional charge of the scene. For green, if you roll a green, it relates to the act of giving or receiving, either learning or teaching, equipping, being equipped, helping, some kind of act of giving or receiving help. Orange is a trick, a lie, a cheat, a deception, a self-delusion, a disguise, a shapeshifter. Yellow is fear, uncertainty, something that comes from beyond, something that creates anxiety and existential panic. Red, disagreements, conflict, fractiousness, fighting. Purple, agreements, love, passion, in accordance with one another. And blue, death. Either personal, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, professional. There are many ways that the archetype of death appears in our life. Finally, we have our 20-sided die, which represent both the shadow, that is 1 through 10, the shadow side of the Kabbalah Tree of Life, and 11 through 20, which represents the exalting side of the Tree of Life. If you roll a 1 or an 11, you roll Shekinah, which is God's presence in the world. If you roll 2 or 12, you roll Yesand, the foundation, so sort of like the underworkings of what's happening in your story there. If you roll a 3 or 13, you roll Had, the majesty, judgment on the world by God, prophecies fulfilled, just manifestation in your story, sort of like things coming to pass and appearing from what's happening in the underlying sense. 4, Netzach, victory, that which endures. So you're dealing with something that prevails, that has existed and continues to exist, something internal. 5, Tiferet, beauty, balance, composition, compassion, heaven, connection to higher forces. 6, Gevura, severity, fiery justice, might, judgment from God. 7, Hesed, love, kindness, grace, generosity, healing. 8, Binah, understanding, building the womb, preparing for the next thing. 9, Shakma, wisdom, the contemplative nature of God, planning, creativity, intellect, and then Keter, which is sort of like connection to the beyond, the X factor. The 20-sided die is kind of like the focus of your story. How big of a theme and how little, like, are you focusing on the microcosm or the macrocosm? So that is a brief and dirty intro to my system for creative randomization. And thank you.